I do want to apologize real quick first. This is later than I was planning to put it out. Sunday night was an all-nighter. Monday night after the game, I was just wiped out. I had to go to bed instead of recording last night. So here we are. And on Monday Night Football, the Raiders beat the Ravens 33-27. Oh my goodness, what a game. It was insane. The Raiders won, and then they didn't, and then they really didn't, and then, oh yeah, they did again. It was very crazy, like a wild ending between the fourth quarter and then overtime. Just an unbelievable back and forth, crazy game. Now, before we do anything, though, I do want to give a shout out to the Raiders fans. It was their first ever game at the new stadium in Vegas, and a first ever regular season game with fans in it. And I don't know if they had fans in the preseason. They probably did. I didn't pay close enough attention. It was a big party, though. You had Steve Aoki DJing to open up things pregame. And I think the Raiders culture makes them like the perfect city for the Raiders. Or I guess like the pairing between the city and the fan base and the way they conduct themselves and their crazy, rowdy nature. Like the Raiders belong in Sin City. It's fantastic. I love it. Such a good location for them. This game was amazing. We got blessed with just, all of week one, from Thursday Night Football, Buccaneers, Cowboys, to like throughout the weekend, the Bengals game, like there was the Bills, Steelers, there was so much good football. And then the perfect nightcap was Monday Night Football. And here's the insane final sequence. I want to recap what happened because it's very convoluted and very complicated. I'm going to do my very best to recap how it went down. And it's worth doing because it's like, it really blows your mind when you put it to words. You're like, oh my gosh, that happened, then that happened, then that happened. So first, Baltimore scored a touchdown to give a 7-point lead with 6 minutes left. They were up 24-17. Then the Raiders put together a 2-minute drive to make the game 24-24 with like 4 minutes left. Then Baltimore responded by putting together a long drive, kicking a field goal with 37 seconds left. So 37 seconds left. Raiders are down 27-24 in the fourth quarter. And they responded by Derek Carr had 2 really big completions to Bryan Edwards, 20 yards and 18 yards. Guy barely did anything all game until the fourth quarter and overtime. And then the Raiders lined up. They kicked a 55-yard field goal to tie the game 27-27. I was like, I don't know that this is going to go in. And it did. And shout out to Carlson, whatever the first name, Dan Carlson, whatever the guy's name is, the kicker for the Raiders. Great kick, amazing moment. And what's crazy is that's not even where we end here. That the sequence to even get to overtime was unbelievable. But then in overtime, things were ridiculous. The Raiders got the ball first. They had I talked about Bryan Edwards. He had a massive catch down the sideline. It's a touchdown. They rule it a touchdown. The refs put their hands up. Game ends. Players are hugging on the field, like, about to trade jerseys and kind of dabbing each other up. And everybody's all over the field. And then we find out, oh, wait a minute. No. He was short. That's not a touchdown. Bryan Edwards didn't actually get into the end zone. And we're like, oh, boy, here we go. But, hey, it's first and goal. The Raiders, you think they're fine. And, first and goal happens. Second goal, I think I got a false start. They end up on the 5-yard line, third and goal. And Derek, I love Derek, should have taken a little bit off the ball, throws a laser beam to Willie Snead. It bounces off Willie Snead's hands, bounces in the air, gets picked off in the end zone, and you're like, wow, the Raiders went from celebrating a victory to about 3 minutes later, it's the Ravens' ball on the 20-yard line touchback after Derek Carr throws an interception in the end zone. And you're like, wow. And then it gets crazy from there. Lamar Jackson then fumbled, which handed the Raiders back the ball. And then they scored on a long touchdown pass to Zay Jones for the game winner, 31 yards. I know it's convoluted, but the story of that is crazy. Getting to overtime was insane. The way it went down in overtime, the Raiders won, I thought. We all celebrate, move forward. We, meaning like Raiders fans. I'm not a Raider fan, but you get the money. I was excited. It was fun. I'm like, oh, that's a great moment. Really, really cool. And then I'm like, oh, wow, the Ravens are going to win this game. Like, they get the ball back. Lamar fumbles. What a crazy, ridiculous, weird sequence. Now, Derek Carr gave an amazing post-game interview. I recommend you look it up on YouTube. Look up Derek Carr, post-game Ravens, Monday Night Football, something like that. And I'm already a big Derek Carr fan. I really like him. I like his demeanor, like him as a human being. As a quarterback, like, I think there's far more compelling quarterbacks around the NFL, but him as a human being, love the guy. Great leader, great person, and his passion for the game and for his teammates, like, this dude cares. He went out of his way to give credit to the defense, saying, like, thank you for getting us the ball back. They made a play when we needed it. And then he went out of his way. This is my favorite part. Like, the defense, that's a great comment. But then he made sure to give praise to Zay Jones, the guy who caught the touchdown pass for the game winner. He was like a second-round pick a couple years ago in Baltimore. And I heard someone say, it was Peyton Manning during the alternate Monday Night Football broadcast. He goes like, who is Jones? Like literally like, who is this kid? Like who would have thought that guy was going to catch the game-winning touchdown pass? But Derek Carr talked about how everybody should root for Zay Jones because his work ethic is amazing, and he shows up every morning at 6 a.m., and he works hard. Like, I don't want to spoil, I probably already did, but listen to it. I guarantee it's just like such an amazing moment with Derek Carr praising his teammates. I loved it so much. Now, one thing I want to point out from this game was that all three of the Raiders' top receivers, whether it's Henry Ruggs, Bryan Edwards, Darren Waller, those three guys, I am pretty convinced Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards are about to have a breakout year. Henry Ruggs had a huge 37-yard gain late in the fourth quarter on a third down. Bryan Edwards had multiple catches in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Like, when they needed plays, those guys delivered. They didn't have the most impressive game I've ever seen, but I thought that when it mattered most, Henry Ruggs showed up and Bryan Edwards showed up. And then Darren Waller had 10 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. Had this great like slant where he beat his man inside, got a touchdown, made two men miss, jumping in the end zone. I'm really, really excited to watch the Raiders offense this year. My buddy Austin texted me yesterday. He's my hockey guy. Whenever I do hockey, I talk to Austin. And Austin was like he basically was like, are the Raiders like really boring this year? And I kind of get where he's coming from. And I don't mean to out Austin. It's a genuine question. I'm like, no, the most exciting thing about the Raiders this year is Derek Carr and those three young receivers. Is Bryan Edwards going to have a breakout year like I think he can? Is Henry Ruggs going to explode like I think he can? We know Darren Waller is going to be incredible. That is my favorite thing to watch about this football team is those three receivers and Derek Carr, their quarterback. Now, Lamar Jackson and Derek Carr both had pretty good games throwing the football, in my opinion. Now, to me, it's only one game, but it does look like Lamar Jackson has gotten better throwing the ball downfield. All offseason, it's been a narrative like Lamar needs to make progress throwing the ball. We'll see where he's at, like week 10. But, I mean, his footwork was better. He threw the ball better downfield, in my opinion. He had a great throw late in the fourth quarter to Sammy Watkins over the middle. Like this long ball, set up their go-ahead touchdown. And I just believe that Lamar Jackson is getting better and better and better. And I think that's crazy to say because he's already so good. But watching him, like he's very accurate downfield. And I really was impressed with the way Lamar Jackson threw the football yesterday. And I think sometimes when I watch Lamar Jackson, I end up feeling bad for defenses where you can do everything right. You play the right coverage. You defend everybody. No one's open. You play a quarterback spy. You contain him really well. And you do everything right against Lamar. And he's just such a good athlete. He can make you wrong no matter what you do. It's ridiculous. He had a play last night where he extended the play, rolled out to the right, kept the play alive. Like, first of all, he backed up in the pocket, made someone miss in the pocket, then he extended the play right, extends it, throws a touchdown. And when he does that kind of stuff, it's unguardable. You're like, what do you do? It's a defense. Frankly, it's not fair. You're like, I just feel bad. The Raiders, that's a great play, the right call. No one's open. They contained him pretty well. He made a man miss in the backfield. And you're like, oh, here we go. So to me, if I was a coach, I would want to coach someone like Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert or Josh Allen. Like, I really, really think that it's so valuable when you can run and extend plays. And if your quarterback can't extend plays, and if I'm the coach, I'm like, thank you, next. Like, I'm going to find someone else. I really would have a hard time committing to a quarterback now in this day and age who can't run around. Like Tom Brady, he's, grandfathered in, fair enough. But if you're a young quarterback, I encourage everybody, figure out how to run around and extend plays. It really will add a massive dimension to your game. Even if you're not someone who can run, I'm trying to think of an example. Gardner Minshew, Sam Darnold, like, Sam's not the best example, but these are guys who are not amazing athletes, but like even Patrick Mahomes. Right? Patrick Mahomes is never going to run for a 70-yard touchdown run. It's never going to happen. Lamar Jackson might. Kyler Murray might. Justin Herbert might. But Patrick Mahomes isn't that kind of runner. But what Patrick Mahomes can do is keep a play alive and find a way to extend the pocket and keep a play alive. And I encourage anyone, no matter how great or poor of an athlete you are, figure out how to, young quarterbacks, extend plays and keep plays alive. It's so valuable. Now, Lamar was not perfect in this game. He had two fumbles that were costly, both for him and they led to Raiders touchdowns, man. Frankly, like the difference in this game, why the Ravens lost was because Lamar Jackson did not take care of the football when it mattered most. He had a fumble late in the game that tied the game up. Then in the fourth, in overtime, Lamar Jackson, they got the ball back. He fumbles, leads to a Raiders go-ahead game-winning touchdown. It cannot happen. You cannot take care of the ball as poorly as Lamar Jackson did yesterday. Now, both Lamar, and I say yesterday, you're probably hearing this. If you're listening to the audio version, it's Tuesday for you. I'm getting it out like right at the end of the day on the East Coast, Tuesday. So whatever that, last night, 2 days ago, whatever it is for you. Now, both Lamar and Derek Carr had one really bad play. One play that it sticks with me. It's going to sit in my head for a while. It's going to be hard for me to forget. Derek Carr had a play where he just did not see Darren Waller, like right down the seam, wide open over the middle of the field. The safety didn't pay any attention to him. I think it was clearly a busted coverage. And that's a play that's going to be brutal in the film room, like probably today. I can already hear John Gruden's voice saying like, kid, what are you looking at? Like, and I can't do a John Gruden impression, but he's basically would say like, did you not see the safety at all? Like, the safety moves all the way to the left. Darren Waller's wide open. It's one safety in the middle of the field, no help. I'm like, why is the ball? Even if someone had run with Darren Waller, you still throw the ball to Darren Waller in that situation, let alone, they just left him alone. And instead of throwing a touchdown pass, Derek Carr kind of panicked in the pocket, checked it down to Josh Jacobs. It was not a good look. It was not a good play. It was easily the worst play of the entire game for Derek Carr. And there's a couple times where Derek Carr has guys over the middle. And Peyton Manning pointed this out too during the broadcast. Like, you got to set your feet. He had one to Henry Ruggs. He had one to Darren Waller, where guys are running across the field. And I think Henry Ruggs was actually, now thinking about it, a miscommunication where Henry Ruggs got to settle down in zone. But he's really struggling with those little moments. Guys are running across the field, or I don't know if he's panicking in the pocket or what it is, but he's got to set his feet and make that throw. And that's a frustration for me watching Derek Carr. Now, and by the way, that play is a busted coverage too. So the Ravens screwed up too. Like, you never leave Darren Waller wide open. And I don't know if Derek Carr, like, he saw the coverage, assumed they were going to run it the right way. I saw Aaron Rodgers a couple years ago, I think in the NFC Championship game, like when one of the Giants Super Bowl runs happened, Aaron Rodgers read the coverage right, but the linebacker screwed it up and was in the wrong spot, was like not supposed to be there. And so if you know the coverage, you're like, oh, hey, there's not going to be a linebacker there. Aaron threw the ball through an interception. It's like, well, no, even you still have to verify what you see. Like, you can say, hey, that's cover two. There should be two safeties. There should not be anyone in the middle of the field if they're both getting wide. And you're like, one safety gets wide, one safety gets wide, but then a linebacker drops and maybe it's Tampa 2 or maybe someone runs the wrong coverage. And you're like, oh, that's supposed to be open against that coverage, but it's not. You have to verify what you see. And I don't know if that's what happened to Derek Carr, where he saw a safety in the middle of the field, assumed they were going to cover. I don't know, but he didn't see the safety. He didn't see Darren Waller, and it's pretty damning. That's a bad play. Now, Lamar had a bad play too late in the game. 3rd and 6, the Ravens were up 17-10. And they're putting together a drive, and you score here, you go up 24-10. That's a really hard margin to come back from. And Lamar had Tyson Williams, their undrafted rookie running back, who's like really impressive, by the way. Had him wide open in the flat, and it's a first down if you make that throw. And Lamar just totally missed it, like just a whiff. You're like, oh, Lamar, you've been doing so well all game. And maybe the easiest throw you could make all night, wide open flat route, you just totally airmail it and miss. And you're like, oh, I think he actually missed totally wide to the right. You can't have that. Like, that's not a bad, that's a really bad play by Lamar Jackson. And it's just frustrating. Now, I say all that in case people point out, hey, Derek Carr had this bad play or that bad play, or, Lamar Jackson missed that throw on 3rd and 6. The reason why I highlight these couple plays is because you can have a bad play or two in a game and still be a great quarterback. In fact, having a bad play doesn't make you a bad quarterback. Is kind of the point where, remember when Tom Brady literally forgot the down last year? He thought it was 3rd down when it was 4th down, and you're like, Tom Brady screwed that up? Like, you can't, Tom Brady would never do that, and he did. So it's an unrealistic expectation to expect your quarterback to be perfect all the time. Neither one was. So I wanted to share that, because if anyone tells you Derek Carr had that bad play or Lamar had that bad play or a fumble or whatever, it happens. Like, it really frustrated me. I was talking about how most games from week 1, you had the better quarterback won every game. And one of the games that was the exception was Jameis Winston beat Aaron Rodgers. People thought I was trying to say Jameis Winston was a better quarterback than Aaron. I was trying to talk about the other 14 games building up to the Packers-Saints game. People assumed, I get how they made that leap, but they assumed I meant Jameis is better than Aaron based on one game. Definitely not, right? Like, Aaron had an awful game week 1. That doesn't make him a bad quarterback. And having a bad play or two does not make you a bad quarterback. And I feel that way with Lamar and Derek Carr. And by the way, that Aaron Rodgers thing, people I don't know if they're dumb. I don't know if maybe it's because I didn't specifically say, and maybe I have to be very, very blatant and obvious, but I couldn't believe they thought I was saying that Jameis is better than Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, oh, come on, guys, come on. I have a couple additional notes from this game. Derek Carr had a sick helmet, and I looked it up. It's got like these cool like dots on it. It's a Visus 02. Interesting new technology. I watched a couple reviews of it. I'm like, oh, that's a really, really nice, very sick helmet. Now, note number 2, Hunter Renfrow is a really solid slot receiver for the Raiders. He had 6 catches for 70 yards. He's the one receiver I didn't talk about. Dude does a lot of good work. He had a catch on the sideline last night where he's like diving right, elevating, getting his feet down. It was so impressive. I've been a fan of him ever since Clemson. I remember when they drafted Hunter Renfrow. I'm like, that's a steal. And it looks like he's just he's not a star, but he's a solid player. They're like, hey, he's worth the money you pay him. He's not very expensive. He's really, really adds a good element to that offense. He's reliable. You trust him. And I really like Hunter Renfrow. Now, note number 3, it was really cool to see Tyson, Ty''S-O-N, Tyson Williams, have a long 35-yard touchdown run. Like, dude, I love that guy. He's an undrafted rookie free agent. And I'm like, he's from BYU. And you're like, this kid is awesome. I love his story. I love that he's playing. He got an opportunity. The top 3 running backs of the Ravens all get hurt. And here he is, Tyson Williams, making plays week 1 for the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. And you're like, dude, what a really, really cool thing to see. Now, note number 4, I loved watching the Raiders owner, Mark Davis, celebrating. Sitting next to him was Charles Woodson, the former Raider great. And I love seeing him hang out with that. I don't know if you know this about the Raiders culture. I would imagine that Al Davis started this. Mark Davis has done a great job continuing it, if that is in fact something Al Davis started. But I know that the way the Raiders operate now, and I would think Al Davis started this because he loved his players, he loved having the community. But Mark Davis does a really good job reaching out and caring for and having a cool community with all the former Raiders players. And I love seeing that. I love watching, Mark Davis celebrating the victory with Charles Woodson. I'm like, oh, wow, how cool is that to see? And I know that, based on the new stadium, the move they made, the new practice facility, that stadium packed last night, like people going crazy, overtime win. Al Davis would have loved that. Mark Davis's dad would have been very, very proud of what his son has done recently. And I don't know, man. I find myself endeared to this Raiders team this year. I don't have a favorite team. People always assume I have a favorite team. I don't, but this is one of the only teams, like Carolina, I really like what they're doing. And for the record, I really like people in sports. I grew up, I really liked the Seattle Supersonics, and then they left, and that was the moment I learned, hey, screw having a favorite team. All they can do is hurt you. So I'm scarred for life with that. I was a Mariners fan. They abused me over and over again. I don't have a favorite team, but I look at Derek Carr, great dude, really compelling. John Gruden is this guy who he's in year 4. Man, I don't know if he's going to work. I really, really hope that John Gruden works. And I can't tell you with a straight face that I believe in him. I just am hoping, because I really like him as a human being, his broadcasting, his personality. Like, you can tell he loves football. He's a bit of a control freak, but I find myself rooting for John Gruden, rooting for Derek Carr. I love the moment when Lamar Jackson fumbled in overtime. Derek Carr and Darren Waller on the sideline, like hugging each other, and like, and the way they looked at each other, they were so happy, and I love that, and I just find myself really, and I can't take, I always try to acknowledge my bias. I just want the Raiders to be good. I want it to work, and I don't know if it will. It's been 4 years of misery, and yes, John Gruden, the head coach, got there. They were a bad football team. He's been trying to turn it around, and Cleveland Farrell, Adrapic didn't really work out. They hired Mike Mayock as GM. Like, it's not been amazing, but I would really, really like to see the people there in Vegas do well and succeed.